We are building and deploying this fully responsive React portfolio website. This portfolio has a clean, dark, and light mode design with a cartoon hero image created using AI from a reference picture, which I will show you how to create from a picture of yourself at the end of this video, both using a paid version ChatGPT and a free version Leonardo AI. If we click these social media icons, we get redirected to our profile, and if we click the resume, we download our CV as a PDF. Under our hero, we have a project section displaying different cards of our projects, and if we click one of them, we get taken to the GitHub repository for that project. It also has this cool hover effect, and you can add as many projects as you want, and it's gonna look great in this website. Then we have our skills section displaying our skills in a very minimalistic and neat way with check marks, followed by a fully functional contact form, and at the bottom we have our super simple footer section. This landing page is fully responsive and looks great across screen sizes, and you will learn how to implement this using vanilla CSS. It is the perfect project for you if you have some experience in HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, and you're hungry to build a React project. We will use GitHub for version control. We'll use Github Desktop to update our repository, Visual Studio Code as our code editor, Netlify to deploy our website for free, and as always, you can find the finished code repository in the video description below. Let's get started. The first thing we're going to do is make sure you have a GitHub account. So if you don't, you can sign up here on github.com, go through that, email, username, that sort of thing. Once you have your GitHub account, you're going to go to desktop.github.com and you're going to download GitHub Desktop for either Windows, Mac, or Linux. You're going to run the installer and open up GitHub Desktop, and it's going to look a bit like this. And you are going to be logging in with your GitHub account. Then you're going to download Visual Studio Code. That's going to be our code editor if you don't already have that. Or of course, use whatever preferred code editor you like. Next up, you're going to go to nodejs.org. And you're gonna make sure that you have Node installed on your computer. You're gonna need above version 18 to run Vite, which is gonna be our builder that we create the React app with. Downloading Node is very simple. You're just gonna download a file here. You're gonna run the installer, and that should basically do it for you. And you can check if you have Node installed by opening up a terminal on your computer. You're gonna run node-v, and hopefully it should say a number here, and it should be above version 18 to run Vite. Once you have Node installed, we're gonna go to vitejs.dev, and we are gonna click this Get Started button, and we're gonna scroll down here, and we see this npm code. We're just gonna copy that. Then we are gonna open our GitHub Desktop. We are gonna create a new repository. We're gonna click here, Add, create new repository. We're going to call it whatever we want. I'm going to call it Harris Johnson-2 because I already created one previously. And I'm going to leave the description blank, everything else standard. Create repository. I'm going to click this publish repository button, and I am going to keep this code public, but you can choose to keep it private if you want. It doesn't affect your ability to deploy the website later on. Publish repository. Then we're going to open in Visual Studio Code. We see it opens here. We can minimize GitHub Desktop. Then I'm going to zoom in a bit so we can see a bit more what's going on here. I'm closing this welcome message. I'm also deleting this GitHub attributes file here. So we have a completely empty folder, as we can see. Now I'm going to open a terminal in VS Code. And here I'm going to paste in that code that we got from the Vite website. So npm create Vite at latest. And I'm going to hit also in addition space and dot to create the React app inside of the folder we're currently in, inside of the repo we just made, and not a new folder inside of that one. So hit enter. Here we get a couple of options. We are going to choose React, and we're also gonna go with JavaScript. So hit enter there. Okay, we get a bunch of new files. Now we're gonna run these guides here. So we're gonna run npm install first. Then once that has installed, we are gonna run npm run dev. And now we are ready. So if we click here now, command click or shift click or control click, we see we have our project up and running. So this is just a basic template for a Vite plus React app. We are going to delete all of this boilerplate and start with an empty frame. So we can close the terminal for now and open up our Explorer here. Now we see we have a bunch of different files. I'm going to give you a quick run through of what they are. So as of now, we have an empty React project. We have node modules, which is basically our npm packages. So all the different packages that we have to run this app. These are basically all the things that we have installed just now. Then we have a public folder. This is just holding this Vite logo. We can actually delete that like so. Then we have a source folder. Let's wait with this one for now. We're just going to close that and do the other files here first, because these are more or less all just configuration files. So this is for ESLint. This is a gitignore file. All files that have these types, for example, everything that is .log will not be pushed to our GitHub repository. So in case we have that as a public repository, which I now have, I could save, my personal and private files using this gitignore. So for example, access keys to authentications and APIs, things like this, I would put here, or I would put in a file that is referenced here so that it would not be pushed up to GitHub. Then we have the index, and I'm gonna hit Option Z on Mac just to word wrap this text so everything fits. So this is essentially our entry point for our app. This is the root. We're going to see this div with an ID of root later, but essentially everything lives within this HTML file here. And then we are basically running the script, the main JSX here, which is going to be inside a source here. We see it here. And that is hosting our app. We're going to get back to that, but basically everything has the entry point through this file. So that's our kind of main file, which we then reference in the main JSX, and the app JSX goes through the main JSX. So essentially just think of this index HTML. We're not going to really touch it so much, but we are going to tweak a couple of things like the title, but everything runs through here. And so far, so good, like familiar syntax if you're used to HTML and JavaScript. Then we have some package lock JSON files. I'm gonna full screen VS Code for now, just to see better. Again, these are packages that we have installed and the different dependencies and the versions of them. And then we have a README file. We can delete this if you want. I'm just gonna leave it for now. And again, some configurations for Vite, which we don't really have to touch, but if you need to further tweak your Vite project, you can do that here. So now let's actually move on to the index HTML and add those little changes that we wanted to make here. So first of all, we're going to change the title here from Vite plus React. And I'm going to change it to Harris Johnson, not Johnson, Johnson. And as we can see now, the title up here has changed. I can't really zoom in the bar here on the browser, but I hope you can see that. And another thing we're going to do here in the HTML is we're going to change this Vite SVG logo that we also deleted, so that's not showing up here. We're going to change that to our own logo. So in order to do that, we need to add an assets folder here, because here we just have the React SVG. Let's also delete that. So now we get an error, that's normal. We are going to go into the description of this video, and we're going to go to the link for the finished code. It is going to look a bit like this, and you're going to have a big green button that says code. We are going to download that as a zip. You are gonna unzip that and you're gonna find the files inside here. We're gonna go into the source and we are just gonna drag the assets folder here over the source. And we're gonna replace the assets folder that we had in the project. So now we're gonna have a lot of different images here, SVGs, for all the different imagery that we have in our project. We are also going to go back to this folder we downloaded, the unzipped one. We're going to go into the public folder and we're going to also drag the favicon.ico into the public folder like so. And that's a nice hamburger. That is the icon for one of the projects that we have. All of these assets, by the way, are free to use. A lot of them are AI generated, and the other ones, like the LinkedIn logos, they are from icons8.com, and you will find in the description of this video a reference to them. They are free to use as long as you reference, so please include that in your project and GitHub repository as well. So now we have our favicon. We are going to reference it here. Instead of our Vite, we are going to write public and then favicon.ico. And now we see up here that the favicon has changed. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to use some custom fonts in this app. So we're going to go to fonts.google.com and we are going to search for Rubik. It's going to be the first one. And we are going to get the font. We're going to get embed code. We're going to choose one value here because we're not going to need italic. We are also going to choose one value here, and we're actually only going to take the extra bold. Okay, so that's good. The next one, we're going to click back and back like so to the main page. We are also going to search for Roboto Mono, and we are gonna choose this one. We're gonna get the font, get the embed code, and here we are also gonna choose one value Roman, but we're gonna take all the weights. Okay, like so. So here we're gonna scroll down and we see that we have this embed code in the head. We're gonna copy that code. We're gonna paste it right above our title. Like so. That's for the Rubik and Roboto Mono all in one. So now we can access those fonts in our CSS. And the pre-connect stuff here is simply to load the fonts a bit better and faster. Okay, so we can close Google Fonts. Now let's fix this error message here. Let's go to our Explorer. We can close the public and the assets folder. Let's open up app CSS, target everything, delete. Let's open app.jsx. Also, we're going to target everything apart from the app CSS. Delete that. And we're going to leave this return statement here blank. Like so. And we're just going to write app. Like so. We should have app written here. Like so. Let's zoom in a bit. And back to the Explorer, index CSS, target everything, delete. Now it should be white. And in the main JSX, we are going to, keep everything here as is. And that is all for our cleanup. So now we have a fresh and completely empty project to work with. Before we continue now, let's actually close the Explorer and open up the extensions panel here. And I'm going to show you what extensions I'm using in this project. So we're going to use ES7 plus React/Redux React native snippets. Go ahead and install that. That's going to be very useful when we are creating our components, React components. It's going to save us a lot of typing, give us a nice starting boilerplate. The next one is Path IntelliSense. Basically, it's going to help us write the paths for our different files and assets. Also save us some time. We are also using Prettier code formatter. You're going to install that, and if you have some trouble making it work, it's basically going to format our code on save. I have a separate video for you here. which you can watch on how to set up and install that. Okay, now we are ready to begin actually coding. So first things first, let's open app.jsx. As we can see, what we write inside of our app here is what is shown on the browser here. But of course, this is not what we want to return. We don't want to just return text that says app. We want to return our hero section. So here we want to be returning our hero like so, but not just in text. We want to actually return it as a component. So we want to return actually all our components here within the app function. And this is essentially what a React component is. All our different sections in our website are going to be having this kind of syntax. It's going to be import statements up top, followed by a function, which is going to define a component that can or cannot take some parameters and do something with them. And then it's going to return some HTML. And here is in the return statement where we actually see things pop up on our screen. Otherwise, we can do like, a bunch of coding here, like we would normally in a, test. Let's see, test. We can do that and we can get things returned like we would in a normal JS file, because this JSX file is basically a combination of HTML and JavaScript. So in all React components, you will have a JSX file or TSX file if you're using TypeScript. And these are basically instead of HTML/JavaScript files. So we are writing both the HTML and the JavaScript in one and the same file, and that's going to make a React component. We're going to get a bit more familiar with that as we move on through the project. But essentially, that's an easy way to look at it. JSX is HTML and JavaScript combined. And if you're wondering what these empty brackets are, these are called React fragments, and that is so. If I go to the Elements tab here, I open the body, we have our ID root here that is coming from the index, as I mentioned. And inside of that root, we have our hero just returned, because app is being referenced and returned inside of the index. Now watch if I add a div here, like you would normally see in a project, we see that we get another div. Now hero is wrapped inside of a div. So that's essentially a neat React trick, is that we, by removing the div and just returning empty brackets, we satisfy the requirement of a return statement. It needs to have one kind of element to return, which is this, but we don't clutter our React project with empty divs. So that's very useful in React. Now let's create our first section. And if we look here at the finished project as a reference, that's going to be this hero section. So let's open up our Explorer. We're going to create a new folder in source. We're going to call that sections. And this is where all our different component sections are going to be, like the hero, the projects, the skills. Inside of the sections, or actually we're going to create a new folder inside of the sections. We're going to call it hero with capital H. Inside of the hero, we're going to create a new file, capital H, hero.jsx, like so. And inside of here, also in the hero folder, we're going to say hero styles.module.css. And that is a specific naming term for the CSS style sheet, basically the style sheet of, that is a specific naming term for the style sheet of a React component. So this hero section has its own style sheet, and all of the components are going to have their own style sheets. We're also going to have some global styles that we're going to use for the background, this sort of thing that goes across all the sections. But for section-specific styles, we're going to have these component styles here. And we're going to link this up in a moment. Inside of the hero component, we're going to write RFCE, hit tab, and this is where those snippets that we installed earlier comes in handy. So now we have a boilerplate component, very similar to the app component, as you can see, almost identical. We are going to remove this React import statement. We don't need that. But we can see here we are exporting our component. And now we can actually use that throughout our project because of this export statement. So let's go back to the app and import our hero. And here we also see I have it suggested here. So I hit tab, hero from sections, hero, hero. Okay, now we can use it. So let's remove this console statement. And instead of, and let's go back to our project here. Instead of logging hero as a text, I want to log it as the component. So opening bracket, hero. You see I also get it suggested here. You can hit tab, and that is gonna import it and save. Prettier also does its formatting for me. So nothing has changed here because we are writing the same thing in the hero section. But if here I say some other text, hit save, and now you see I've changed the hero component, and the things that are represented coming through the app is changed here. And now also if we inspect the HTML elements here, we see that the div root has now another div, some other text, and that is the div here in the hero. So we can also remove these div and return empty React fragments, and we see that those divs are gone. Pretty cool. So now we have our first hero component, our first section. Let's now hook up the style sheet that we just made as well, so that we can use it to style the hero section later on. We are going to simply import it because we added that .module in it. So now we can import that style sheet. Import styles from, and it's going to be / and we can see that it is also just suggested here, hero styles module.css, like so. We are, of course, also not going to return empty fragments here. We're going to return a section and a section here because that's what this hero is. It's a section. It is going to have an ID of hero. So let's see if that is represented here. There we go. That's our first section with an ID of hero. Great. Now, instead of some other text here, we are going to return a div. And here we're now going to make this left side of the, actually the right side of the div, because when we zoom in a bit more, let's see, like so, we see that it's on the top. So later on, we're going to switch that and make it go on the right side, like so. Actually, let's keep it to the mobile view. We have some more code space. And I'm going to zoom in for you so you see what we're doing, like so. So we are going to be creating from the top to the bottom all these little elements here. So we're just going to put in the HTML before we style it in the section. Okay, so first of all, we need in this div an image. And that image is going to have a source to this image. So let's import that. Import hero image from, and here we are going to go // to go up 2 steps. Then we're going to go into assets folder, and here we are going to search for hero image. And then in order to give that into the React JSX code here, we actually need to use these curly brackets to reference the variable we just made. So like there. And if we go back to our code, we see that we have our big image here that isn't given any width or properties like that yet. So we have it way big. Or is it just because we have zoomed in so much? Maybe it is. There we go. Furthermore, we are going to give it an alt of profile picture of Harris Johnson, like so. And we're also going to give it a class name. In React, we use class name instead of class, because here, again, we're merging HTML and JavaScript, and class has a completely different meaning in JavaScript. So we have to use this like kind of made up syntax class name. But essentially, it's just a class in traditional vanilla HTML. We're going to use this class to style our hero section later. And here we also need to reference within curly brackets because we are using this styles variable here. So we need to reference it first, styles, and then we can actually call the class name. So obviously we don't have that yet, but we're just going to reference that now here as hero. And then later when we say .hero, that's going to be this image element here. In addition, the div that is the parent element of the image is also going to have a class name. Again, same thing here. We're referencing styles first, and then color mode container, like so. And then if we see in the finished product, this icon here for the sun and the moon between the dark mode and the light mode, we are also going to add in this side, inside of this div. So that's going to be another image with a class name. Let's see, with a source first of theme icon, like so. We get a error now because it doesn't exist yet. Color mode icon is what we're going to give it for an alt, like so. And as a class name, styles, oops, there we go, styles dot color mode. And now we need to actually import this theme icon. So let's do that, import theme icon from // and let's just choose one of them for now. Let's choose the sun. There we go. It's fitting because we have the light background as of now. We are also going to give the section its own class. So class name, styles dot container. We're going to create the theme logics shortly, but for now we're just going to finish the HTML elements here. After this div, we're going to create another div. It is going to have a class name of styles.info. Inside of here, we're going to have our h1 that is going to say Harris Johnson. We're also going to break that text so it comes on a new line, like so. After the h1, we are going to add an h2. It's going to say front-end developer. And then after the h2, we are going to add a span element. Inside of here, we are going to have our social media icons. That's going to be within a link element. So let's just write that, https://twitter.com, and then your profile. You can also choose to use another social media if you want. Target. We are going to open this in a blank tab. And inside of the link element, we're going to add our image for the actual Twitter logo, or the X logo. That is going to be called Twitter icon. And again, we need to import that first. So import Twitter icon from /assets Twitter light, let's say, and we're going to give that down here in the source. Twitter icon. Great. Now let's copy that. If you hold Shift Option or Shift Alt down, you can click twice, then you get to copy that whole code. Now we're just going to change that with GitHub and with LinkedIn. Another useful hack, if you double click on Twitter and then you hit Command D in VS Code, then you actually get to target the next instances of that same word. So here I get to just write GitHub and I change all of those right away. Then just give it a capital G. Same on the next one, Control or Command D. Here it's going to be LinkedIn without the capital here, like so. Same thing here, Shift Option down or Shift Alt down, and we're going to change that to GitHub. And this one is going to be LinkedIn, GitHub, and LinkedIn. There are our icons correctly being placed. We're going to shortly style them so they look the same height. Then we're going to add a paragraph here. We're just going to copy that from the finished project with a passion for developing modern React apps for commercial businesses. Very, very generic. But you know, here's where you put in your own nice spin on it. Then we're gonna create another link element. Here we are gonna add our CV because this is where we're gonna add our button. And the button is gonna have a class name of hover with a nice hover effect. We are gonna download, download. That attribute basically just says to download the file that we are linking to and not open anything. Let's see, resume. And then we also need to make this element here. So we are gonna import CV from, and then // assets cv.pdf. Okay, let's test that now. Resume. It is opening. It is opening though. It's a bit weird. It's not the downloading. It is because we put the download attribute on. There we go. It needs to be on the link element, the A element, not the button element. So let's try that again. Now it works. So now it's downloading and then we can choose to open it. Perfect. Then we are exporting our hero. So that's all for the actual syntax. Now let's actually add the theming. In order to do that, we need to create another component, and that is going to be inside of a folder we are going to call common. Inside of common, we are going to create a new file called theme context.jsx. And this syntax is going to look a bit confusing, but essentially it's a standard way of creating a theme inside of React. So we're just going to import a couple of things we need first. We're going to import React, then inside of curly brackets, create context, use context, use effect, use state from React, like so. Then we're going to create a new constant, call it theme context. It's going to be equal to create context. Then we are going to export const use theme. And we are going to have an arrow function here, use context, theme context. And we are going to export a constant theme provider, and that is going to take some children. And we are going to run a function here. Call it const. And here we're using destructuring to create the theme. And the set theme. Use state. And essentially what we are doing here is we are creating a theme and we are setting it to the local storage. If we have a local storage theme already saved, we're going to get that. Otherwise, we're going to set it to light. So we're going to access local storage. We're going to say get item. Look for an item that has a theme. If you find that, then set it to that. Otherwise, set it to light. So if we don't have a theme, we're just going to start with a light theme. And then we're going to save that into local storage. So that's what this set theme, like so. Misspelled it there a bit. Then we're going to use effect. And here we're going to say, when we use that effect, document, body, we're going to set the attribute. We're going to give it an attribute of the whole body of our HTML with a data theme. And we're going to set that to the theme that we just made. So when we inspect our HTML body element, we're going to see that it's going to get this data theme attribute. And it's going to be equal to this theme that we are going to be setting with the theme function here. Then we're going to go into local storage, set item. We're going to set the theme to theme. And then we're referencing theme here. Then we're going to have a toggle theme. It's going to be also a arrow function. We're going to set the theme. We're going to say previous theme. And then we're going to say previous theme. If it's equal to light, we want to set it to dark. Otherwise, we want to set it to light. So this is going to help us toggle between the different themes. So if it's already on light, go to dark. If it's on dark, go to light. Then the important bit here, return theme context dot provider. And then inside of here, we are going to have a value inside of two curly brackets, theme and toggle theme. And then we are going to give it children, like so. A theme that we're going to save in our local storage inside of the browser. We're going to have a way to reference that in our body, to put the actual theme, and then we're going to have a method of toggling that theme. And this here, we're going to use to basically encapsulate our whole app inside of this theme component. Don't worry too much about this part if you don't understand everything. I'm going to go a bit more in detail once we in the other components about using this theme and using different React functionality. Now we're going to open our main JSX and we're going to wrap this app with the new theme context that we just made. So theme provider, I meant to say, there we go, and then put app in there like so. So then it should have normally imported theme provider here. Now inspecting, we see that we have an error. Let's see, use effect is not a function of theme provider. See that it's misspelled here. Use effect, save that. Use effect is not defined. It's because I have misspelled it up top as well. Toggle theme is not defined. And here we have another bug. That's because we have written straight brackets, like for an array, instead of object brackets, like so. Let's reload, and there we go. Perfect. Let's now switch back to our theme context.jsx. And let's see in our const toggle theme, let's just log theme switched. Here, switched. And then back in our hero, we're going to use that toggle theme here in our image. Click, on click, toggle theme. And now let's click the button. And we see that we get theme switched. So it's working, although we don't have any, different styles applied yet. We are actually switching the themes. Perfect. Let's remove that console log back in the theme context. Now we can close the theme context, and then we can continue writing here. We are going to create a constant for the theme icon, which is going to be equal to theme. If it is light, that is going to be equal to sun. Otherwise, it's going to be the moon. Like so. We already have a theme icon here. That's because this is actually going to be sun. And then we're going to add a moon here. We're going to change that to moon, like so. So now we can see that if we click and change the theme, we have our sun, and then we have the moon that is white, so we don't see it compared to the background. But here we are successfully switching themes up. You can actually see it a bit if I drag it here over the black t-shirt or here. So cool, it is working. So we're going to do the same thing for the Twitter icon, the GitHub, and the LinkedIn. So theme, here it's going to be Twitter. Same thing here, it's going to be Twitter light, we're going to call it. Otherwise, it's going to be Twitter dark. And the next one, GitHub, is going to be GitHub light. Otherwise, it's going to be GitHub, not light hub, GitHub dark. And then LinkedIn icon. If it's light, it's going to be LinkedIn light. And then dark is going to be LinkedIn dark. Now we need to import these. So Twitter light is going to come from Twitter light. Twitter dark is going to come from Twitter dark. GitHub light from light, and dark from dark. Quite self-explanatory here. And then LinkedIn light and LinkedIn dark. So I hope you understand what's going on here. We're basically having two different, here we can see LinkedIn dark, LinkedIn light in our assets folder. And we have two versions of each icon. And then when we switch our theme, we are actually switching the icons. So now they're white, now they're dark. Pretty cool. So that is all for actually our JSX for this hero section. We have all our elements. Now let's get to styling it and also giving our overall app the style it needs to switch between the colors. Because I don't know about you, but I preferably like dark mode. So I want to get this app to look dark. So let's start with the with the styling that is going to be in common for all of our components. And by doing that, we're going to go to the app.css that is already loaded in our app.jsx, which is running as a source and running our hero here. So we're going to put all our common styling in the app.css file. So first off, let's actually create our variables. We're going to create CSS variables to our light and dark mode. So for the light mode, we're going to create a root to target the root element. Inside of here, we're going to create various variables. So background color is going to be the first one, and that is going to be on light mode, just white. Then we are going to have button color, and that is going to be the nice blue that we see on the light mode here, this one. That's going to be a nice shade of blue. So that's going to be hashtag 0987F2. That's the hex color. Then let's just copy that down, Shift Alt down. This is going to be button text color. That is going to be FFF. And then Shift Alt or Shift Option down. Then we are going to have project card BG for background. That is going to be FFF 00, basically a transparent background. Then we're going to create another variable called text color, and that is going to be for the dark color here. It's not black, so it's almost black, but it's a bit on the gray tone, a bit easier on the eyes. Form text color, and that is going to be 555. And then the last one is going to be footer text color, and that is going to be 888. Now let's copy this whole element down, root. Instead of root now, we're going to say when we have our data theme on our body, and that is equal to dark, we're going to have some different colors. We're not changing them yet. Let's inspect the body here. Look, this is what we created with our theme context switcher. We have an attribute on the body here that we have completely made up. Data theme equal to light. If I switch now, it changes to dark. So this is how we're going to target and define which variables are going to be counting in our style sheet. So this is the basic one, and then we are overriding it here because CSS cascades when data theme is equal to dark. And then let's create a body tag here and give it a background color, and we're going to reference this variable. We're going to say background color like so. And now, because we have on the dark mode, we see that the background color changes. So I'm going to keep it on the dark one. Let's see what we're working with. Then we're going to change the button color from the light one. It is going to be FFF. The button text color is going to be hashtag 222. The project card background is going to be white. The text color is going to be white. The form text color also white. And the footer text color is going to be BBB, a bit grayish. Then we're going to give the body a display of flex. So now we're done with our variables. Now let's utilize them. And we are going to justify the content. So this is between the sections. We don't really see it now, but basically we are flexing all these sections here. And we're justifying them, and we're going to give them a bit of a margin. So we're going to justify them to the center. we are going to give it a margin of 0 in the top, auto on the sides, and 60 pixels at the bottom. Then we are going to target the root element. We are going to give it a display of flex. We're going to give it a flex direction of column. And then we're going to give it a gap between each section of 60 pixels. So between projects and the hero, we have 60 pixels, probably more because the hero is also going to take the full screen height on whichever device we're on. But between the other sections, it's going to be 60 pixels gap minimum. Then we are going to target our H1, our H2, our H3, and our paragraph element. We're going to give it the color of variable text color. And there we go. Now, if we switch, we can actually see the text. Hooray! Cool. Then we're going to give them a margin of 0 and a padding of 0, just to like equalize all of them so we can really like define how we want them to look and what spacing we want between the different fonts or the texts. Then we are going to target the H2, the H3, and the paragraph. And we are going to give them a font family of the beautiful Roboto Mono that we have downloaded. And if that fails, it's going to be monospace. Ta-da! That's cool. Then we're going to target H1 and H2. And we're going to text transform them to uppercase. Cool. Then we are going to target H2 and H3. We're going to give them a font size of 20 pixels. And H1 is going to get the font family of the other one, Rubik, and if that fails, sans serif. Basically any sans serif font. It is also going to have a font size of 32 pixels. Then we're going to target the paragraph element, give it a font size of 16 pixels, and a font weight of 300. Then we're going to target the section title, which we are going to use to give these sections here an original styling. We're going to give them a margin bottom of 30 pixels between them and their content. And we're going to target that hover class that we made. We're going to give a cursor of pointer. So let's see. Pointer, cool. Now we get a pointer when we hover over these buttons. Awesome, that is it for our general styling. Not that much, but it's going to be very useful over the next sections because we're not going to need to write as much code, styling code per section. Because, you know, we have already the backgrounds, we have the colors, we have the fonts. Then it's really going to be about the layout in each section, as well as a bit of customization with adjusting for the screen width across the screen sizes. But we're going to do that also towards the end. Now let's go back to our hero styles, and now we're going to actually give it the hero specific styles. So we are going to target this first, let's see, container here. That's the whole section. So let's say dot container. We're going to display that using flex. And then we're going to give that a flex direction of column. I have a separate video on Flexbox. I can link it up to here if you are not familiar using Flexbox. Justify content, center. We're going to give a gap of 20 pixels. And we are going to text align to the center, looking better. We're also going to make sure that the whole hero section is going to be 100% of the device height, so that whichever size we're on, we're going to have the hero on it, and only the hero, so that we don't, for example, start with, you know, like this, and then you see a bit of the project. It wouldn't really be very good design. Also, keep in mind, I am zoomed in here so you can see better. This is how it really looks, so don't be frightened if that's how it looks on your computer. Then we're also going to say on very small heights, we're also going to have a minimum height, because otherwise this content wouldn't fit. So we're going to say minimum height of 500 pixels. It's not really a problem on most devices, but it would be a problem, let's say, if you were to go on your phone and then tilt the phone on the side, then basically it would smush this content together and we wouldn't be able to see all of it. So now we're going to target the hero, that's the picture. We're going to give it a max width of 200 pixels. Then we are going to go into the span, and also take note that I'm here nesting elements within elements. That is a feature that is native to CSS now. Usually in the past it wasn't. It's a relatively new feature. It's been around for a couple of years, I think, but you know, if you're not familiar with that and you are familiar with having to use like less or Sass to do that, well, you can do that in vanilla CSS now as well. So we're going to display that using Flex. So the span, that is the container for our social media icons. We're going to give it a gap of 25 pixels. We're going to justify the content to the center. And then we're going to nest further inside of the span to target the A elements. The links, we're going to give it a margin of 0 to center them. And then further in here, inside of the A in the images, the width of the images is going to be 30 pixels. So they're all the same. Nice and neat. Then inside of the container still, we are going to target the A elements. We are going to say width is going to fit the content. And we're going to align self to the center. Button. And we're going to give that a button background color of variable. And then btn dot color dash color, and then it's going to have a color of variable, and that is just going to be button text color. So if we switch now, it should turn blue, and it does. Perfect. It's going to have no border, none border for you, but you are going to have a border radius. Ironically enough, you can give things border radiuses without having a border. It's not really logical, but it also kind of is. I don't know why. And you can give it a width of 126 pixels. And let's also make it a bit higher with 50 pixels. And also let's give it a font size of 20 pixels. Font weight of bold. And let's give it a box shadow of 0, 4 pixels, and 4 pixels in directions. And the color is going to be RGBA 000 and 0.25 for the transparency. Okay, that's going to give us a nice dark but still like discrete box shadow. And we are going to have a transition here because we are going to click it and it's going to have this nice animation we see here. On hover, it's going to become bigger, and on click and active, it's going to go smaller and down. It's giving us this like button press, basically, which is what we want. So transition, we're going to transition the box shadow with 200 milliseconds ease in and out. And we're also going to transition the transform over a duration of 200 milliseconds and ease in and out. So now we're actually going to use these transform and box shadow transitions. So we're going to target the button. When we are hovering over it, we are going to transform it. We're going to scale it, and we're going to make it 1.05 bigger. Ta-da! It's a bit bigger, slightly bigger. Then we're going to go into the button active, and we are going to transform it. And we're going to move it a bit, translate Y 2 pixels down. And we're also going to give it a box shadow. Let's just copy this one because it's a bit long to type. And we're just going to give it a 2 pixels instead of 4. So now if I click, let's also go on the light one. It's a bit easier to see. We see that the box shadow also becomes a bit smaller and also helps create this like clicking effect. Then let's scroll down, and then outside of the container class, we are going to target the color mode container. We're going to say the position is going to be relative so that we can position this one. We're targeting this now. We're going to give it this a relative because we need to target this image here, the theme icon, and give it a position of absolute. And absolute means it's absolute and compared to the first parent element with a position of relative, which we now gave the parent element of both these two. So they're going to be kind of stuck together, like relative to each other. Then we're going to target the color mode. That is the actual icon. We're going to give it a position, as said, of absolute. So if we didn't give that now, it would be absolute to the whole screen. Watch it when I comment out the code. Or not. I don't know why that's not working. Okay. No, it is because we don't have, the section doesn't have a width yet. So it's as wide as the whole body. Anyways, that's why it doesn't seem like it's working. I was like, why did I do that? Then color mode, just color mode on hover. We are gonna target cursor pointer. So now we're getting the nice hover effect there as well, making it apparent that this is something you can click. Then description, and we're gonna give it a max width of 24 characters. Have I given that anywhere? I don't think so. I think I forgot to actually give that because we're trying to target this text here. So I think I forgot to give that a class name. So styles dot description. That is looking better. We are also gonna align self to the center. Then we're gonna target the info, display, and flex. And we're gonna give it a flex direction of column. We're basically doing this to give a equal spacing between these elements. Justify content, center, and then we're going to give it a gap of 20 pixels, like so. Don't really think we need that justify content. It's already justified with the text align. Okay, this is looking really close. Am I right? So let's change here. This is in the finished one. Dun, dun, dun. And then, dun, dun, dun. We have slightly more width here for some reason. That might be because of another section. So let's get back to that. I think that's just because the body has a slightly more width here because of maybe the contact section here. But yeah, otherwise it is looking really good. We are downloading, we are opening Twitter, we are changing our mode, and we're keeping it on dark, like, let's be honest. So there we are, done with our hero section completely. That is the biggest section by far. And now we are ready to move on to our project section. So let's take a look at what we are making first. So the projects section has a title, and then it has 4 projects, and you can add as many as you want. But each project is basically composing of the same kind of layout, and we're going to extract that layout and create a project card component out of that. And then we're going to send that component the data for each card. So it's going to be a fun little task, and it's not too difficult, but it's going to be a very good introduction into how to use React and how to basically send data between components. So starting off, let's close the hero stuff. We're going to go into sections. We're going to create a new folder. We're going to call that projects. We are going to create a new file in projects, capital P, projects.jsx. Then we are going to create a new file as well, projects styles.module.css. So now we can close the Explorer and go to our projects.jsx. Inside of here, we're going to RFCE, and that's going to create our project's boilerplate. Then let's go to the app.jsx, and let's create, or let's call that projects app. That's gonna automatically import our projects at the top here. If not, make sure to do that. And then let's check out our local host here. There we have our projects. Projects component rendered. Perfect. So back to our projects. What is this going to look like? Well, it's going to be a section, same as the heroes component. Likewise, it's going to have an ID of projects, and it's going to have a class name of styles dot container as well. And we need to import that. Import styles from /project styles, and we're not gonna need this React here. Then we're gonna have an H1, and that is going to be saying projects, and then that's gonna have a class name. There we go, H1, already getting the standard styling that we just made for all the components. It's going to have a section title that we also made. Then we are going to have a div, and that is going to have a class name of styles. Let's make sure to do that inside of an object, styles, projects container, and then we are going to add our first project here. So that's going to be a link. I'm going to choose a GitHub repository to link to. I'm going to copy that and just paste it in there like so. Then inside of the A, I'm going to have an image element. It is going to have a class of hover. It is going to have a source of, let's say, Viber. That's going to be our first. We need to import that. Import Viber from. That is going to be inside of our assets folder again. Assets, and then viber.png. And that is with a lowercase, like so. Now we see our PNG. It is going to have an alt of just Viber logo. Then after the image, we're going to have an H3. Here we're going to say Viber. And then after that, we're going to have a paragraph. And we're going to say streaming app. We are also going to open this in a target of blank. Okay, so if I click this now, we should be opening perfect. Awesome. And if I change, cool. Okay, so now let's get to styling this. We are going to target the container. We're going to say display flex. We are going to flex you in the direction of column. Then we are going to text align to the center. And then we are going to target the image inside. We're going to say max width of 250 pixels. We're going to align self to center. We are going to give a background color. We're going to take the variable and we are going to say project card BG. It's going to be white on the background in the dark mode and white actually in both backgrounds. Perfect. No, it's actually going to be transparent here. There we go. And then we're going to give it a border radius of 20 pixels. Round that out. Then we're going to target our links and we're going to give them a width of fit content, text, decoration of none, and color of 222, transition of transform 200 milliseconds, ease in and out. Okay, that's going to be the transition for the hover effect, which zooms in or makes it a bit bigger. So let's create that hover effect. Hover. We're going to transform same way with scale 1.05. So now if I hover over, nothing is happening. Let's target the projects container. I have a feeling that's going to solve it. Projects container. And we're going to give that a display of flex. And that is solving it. Perfect. And flex direction of column. Align items of center. And gap of 30 pixels. Perfect. So now we have one card ready. Now it's just about duplicating it or replicating it. And for that, we're going to extract this whole code here and create a separate component. So we are going to open our common folder. We're going to create a new file. We are going to call that project card.jsx. we're going to give that the RFCE to get a boilerplate. And instead of this, we are going to return an A element. Actually, let's just copy this whole thing like so and paste that there. And then let's instead here paste that new component that we just made. So project card, like so. And now we need to actually send, because what is not working here now is that project card can't access Viber. So we need to send that through here. So in order to do that, project card needs to be able to receive it. So that's where props come in. So props we can define in here. It's short for properties, and it's basically, we just have to reference them. So we're going to take a property. It's going to be called source. And then instead of, because that's the source here, instead of writing Viber directly here, we're going to just write source. So that when we send in source, wherever we use it, it's going to go there. And then let's do that. So as we can see, we're not sending in anything here. So where we are using it, we're going to say use project card here. And for the source prop, send in Viber. Et voila, there we go. It's as easy as that. Now, of course, we also have hard-coded values here. We're going to change these as well. So let's go step by step. First off, we want to change this link here. So what is it? Well, it's a link. So instead of writing it manually, we are going to reference it there. And we're just going to send it in here instead. So link is going to be equal to that link we just had. Like so. And let's also remove that HTTPS, like so. Let's check if that still works. Cool, we didn't break the link. Next up, we see we have, so hover is good, source is good, alt is not good. We're going to get back to the alt. Let's use, because we see that Viber logo and Viber is the same, so we can actually use the same reference for these, the same prop. So we're just going to say H3 here, and we're going to cut that and say H3, and then we're going to send in the hero an H3 with Viber as a string. Now we can also use that string here. So we are going to send in by writing an object and then backticks inside. And then let's see, $, object. And then we can send in the H3 here combined with a string. So H3 string. Now if we inspect this, it should have an alt of Viber logo, same as the H3 here, Viber. Perfect. Last but not least, the paragraph element here. So we're just going to cut that. And then, as you might have known, we're going to send in the P there. And there we're going to use it. And then we need to send it in here where we are using it. And we are just going to send it in as a string. As you might have noticed, we're sending most things in as strings, but here we're sending in an object, which is a reference to a PNG. So you can send in whatever you want. You kind of define that in the component you make. The beauty now of Project Card is that it is completely customizable. Now we can change all the elements here, and that we can basically reuse it an infinite amount of times. So let's try that right now. So we're going to copy it down, Shift Option down on Mac, and then we are going to import the next project. So let's see, that is going to be Fresh Burger. So import fresh burger from // assets freshburger.png. Okay, cool. Now let's change the icon here, or the source, to use freshburger. And now it's changed. I'm just going to keep the link the same, but you obviously change the icons, change the links to something that is a project of yours, or don't, I have plenty of projects on my channel if you are looking for some project to display on your portfolio. We're going to change the name here to Fresh Burger, and that is a hamburger restaurant. Could have said that. We're just going to say hamburger restaurant. Cool. And then we copy that twice more. Next one is hipster glasses. Import hipster with 2 S's, I think. And that is going to be assets hipster. And then hipster, and then glasses shop. I'm pretty sure that is a terrible English for what that is, but I can't think of what to call it. So it's a glasses shop, even in the logo. It might even be a bit hipster to have it wrongly written. And then we are gonna have, we have one too many now. So let's keep it identical, like so. Last one is FitLift. Import FitLift from, and that is going to be assets as well. FitLift, and fitness app. Cool. Now we can see if we change the mode, we also have changed the background and the style. And now we can easily reuse and put as many projects as we want. If you further would like to reduce the, the redundancy here, because we are repeating here as well, you could, map over an array that contains all of the project info, and then basically return a project card for each. So you would have even more concise data here, or you could even fetch that from a different source, from a different file, from an API, wherever you want to keep your data for your projects. But essentially, I think we are done with the projects section. So that's cool. Now we're going to move on to the skills section. It is going to be even simpler with some very minimalistic and sleek design here. So now we can close our projects, project card, and project styles. Let's open our Explorer and create a new section, new folder, skills. In that folder, we're going to create a new file, skills.jsx, and also the styles, actually skills styles .module.css, and then we're gonna RFCE, get our boilerplate. We are gonna take away the React. We are gonna import styles instead from skills styles. Perfect. Same thing, we're gonna return a section here. This section is gonna have an ID of skills, a class name, referencing the style sheet, and then container. And here we're gonna have an H1 saying skills. Let's go back to our project. We also need to return that in our app. Actually use the skills. So skills, import that, and there we go. We are also going to add a div here with a class name of styles.skill list. And then here we are going to add a span. Inside of the span, it's going to be an image. And the source is going to be check mark icon. And then the alt is going to be check mark icon. And we are also going to have a paragraph here where we're just going to write the skill HTML. And then we, of course, need to import the check mark icon from, you got it, the assets folder. Check mark light, let's say. So now we don't see it. Let's see, let's say dark. So that's a big old check mark. And as you can see here, instead of repeating this, we are going to be creating another component. So we're going to open our common file again, common folder, create a new file here. We're going to call that skill list.jsx. And then let's go to our skills and then copy the span here. Actually cut it. We're going to RFCE, take away the React, and we are going to return what we just copied. And then we are, same as in the previous one, we're going to basically use the params here to enable us to reuse this functionality. So instead of checkmark icon, it's going to be source. Instead of hard coding the HTML, we are gonna say skill. Then we are going to actually use that skill list here. We're gonna give it a source. That is gonna be the checkmark icon. And we're gonna give it a skill, which is gonna be plain text HTML or a string. So now we have the same layout, same things rendered, but much more reusable. So let's copy that 4 times. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's write CSS, JavaScript, TypeScript, and Node. Okay. Well, that looks perfect. We are done. Well, we need to tailor this a bit. Then let's just add the other sections. We want to have an HR here. That is a line, as we can see. And then we just copy this whole div and the HR. We want to say React in the next one, Angular, Vue, Tail, Wind, CSS. Let's delete the last one here. And copy this whole div one more time, paste it in after the HR. going to say Redux, Webpack, Git, Jest, and Bootstrap. There we go. So now we have all of them, and now let's go in and actually alter the styling, make it look like the finished product here. So let's open our skill styles. Let's target our container. We're going to display flex direction of column. We're going to text align to the center. Then we are going to target the span display of flex, align items of center, and we're going to give them a gap of 5 pixels between the check mark and the text. Then let's make these images a bit smaller. Width 20 pixels and height 20 pixels. We don't really need the height here. Width is enough. Then we're going to target the skill list. We're going to go and display flex. We are going to justify the content to space evenly. We're going to align self to the center. And we're going to turn on flex wrap. Okay, so now we have all of them here. We're going to say row gap of 40 pixels and max width of 26 characters. Okay, so that is now giving us our nice displacement here. Then we're going to target the HRs. Those are the lines. We're going to give them a width of 100 pixels. Height of 1 pixel. Border of none. Background color of variable. Let's see, text color. And we're going to give it a margin of 30 pixels auto. I see that I think I've forgotten to give this title here. Let's go to the skills. It is lacking a class of section title. There we go. Now we get the spacing here. That is the same as for this section. Perfect. And that is all we need to do to make our skill section look great. Awesome. Now let's move on to our contact form and also make it work. So let's close the skills, skill list, and styles. And let's create a new folder in the sections. Call it contact. New file, contact.jsx, RFC. We're going to change the React with an import of styles. Let's also create that first. Contact styles dot module dot css. Import styles from contact styles. Perfect. So this div is going to be a section like in the previous sections with an ID of contact and a class name of styles container. Then we are going to have an h1 with a class name of section title. And it's going to say contact. And then let's go and add this in our app.jsx. So let's add contact. And then if we scroll down, we get it. Perfect. Then we're going to add a form. It is going to have an action that is empty now. So for this form, in order to make it work, I'm going to show you how to create the whole, all of the elements here. And here is a separate video on how to actually make the form be submittable and send you an email in the easiest way possible without writing any backend code. Essentially, it is through using a service called FormSpree that is completely free. So go watch that video to learn at the end of creating this form how to actually link it up. It's basically about putting a link here to a form that you make on this free service. And that's basically that to actually enabling it to get it to your inbox. Otherwise, everything is going to be as I'm going to show you in the next moments here. So inside of this form, we're going to have a div. It's going to be a class name of form group. Then we're going to have a label. It's going to be HTML4 name. And it is going to be hidden. And then we're going to write name inside of here. Let's go back to our form as well. Then under the label, we're going to have an input. It's going to be of the type of text. That's correct. It's going to have a name of name. It is going to have an ID of name. And it is going to have a placeholder of name. And it is also going to be required. Also, let's capitalize the placeholder like so. Then let's copy this entire form group one step down. Then we're going to change all of the instances of name to email. Let's just change the name here in the input back because name is also an attribute. So email, and then we're going to capitalize the placeholder and also the label. So now we have our name and email. Then we are going to copy it one more time. Next one is going to be message, message, message. And this is not going to be an input, it's going to be a text area. And the text area has a opening and closing tag. It is going to be placeholder of message as well. ID of message, but no type and name of message. Okay, great. And then after the div, we are going to have an input, and that is going to be of the type of submit. It is going to have a class name of hover and btn. And then we are also going to have a submit. Also, we are going to have a value of submit with a capital S. Perfect. We are ready to do some styling. So let's hop into our style sheet. Let's target our container. We're going to display it with Flexbox. We're going to give it a flex direction of column. We're going to give it a text align of center. Then we're going to target our form. we're going to display that using flex. We're going to give it a flex direction of column and a gap of 30 pixels. We're going to give it a text area and input that is not the type of submit. So what this essentially says is we're targeting the text area and also inputs that are not the type of submit. So everything, text areas, so basically these three and not the submit button. So we're going to give it a height of 50 pixels. Padding left of 16 pixels. Give it a bit of spacing between the text and the border. And a width of 250 pixels. Then we are going to target the text area separately. We are going to give it a padding top of 16 pixels. We are going to give it a resize of none. And we're going to give it a height of 250 pixels. Okay, starting to look better. Then we're going to target the input and text area. We are going to give it a border radius of 20 pixels. We're going to give it a border of 888, 1 pixel solid. We're going to give it a box sizing of border box to make this scaling regarding margins and paddings, basically not adjust. We are going to justify the self to the center. And we're going to give it a background color of variable. And that is going to be background color. And then the color of the text is going to have a variable of not background color, but form text color. Then we are going to target the placeholder. We are going to give it a color as well. It is going to have the same variable. Just copy that whole thing. Then we're going to target the input that is of the type of submit. And here we're going to give it a background color. It's going to be a variable, and that is going to be btn color. It is going to have a border radius of 20 pixels, border none, box shadow of, let's actually just copy this whole text from hero styles. So we already made that button. There we go. Let's copy all of that and paste it in there. In addition, we're going to put margin is going to be equal to auto. There we go. Now, if we turn on light mode, that should also be blue. Perfect. Awesome. And we see we have some required validation here. Perfect. So let's turn back to dark mode and scroll down. Let's target the input. And it's going to be the same input target submit on hover. We are going to have our nice hover effect here. Transform scale 1.05. And that transforms the button on hover. Perfect. And then it's going to be also on active. We're going to copy this box shadow here. Box shadow. We're going to change the 4s to 2s. Make that shadow a bit smaller. In addition, we're also going to transform here. Translate in the Y direction 2 pixels. And there we have it. There is our contact form done as well. Now let's create the last little section. It's a tiny section. New folder, footer. Inside of here, footer.jsx, RFCE. Let's also create the footer styles.module.css. And inside of the footer, we're going to import styles from footer styles. Make this a section. With an ID of footer, class name, referencing the styles, container, and the paragraph. And then we need the copyright code here. So just Google copyright code and you can get this, basically this one, or and copy. If we paste that there and copy, and then let's add that in our app. So we need to add the footer like so, save, and there we have our copy symbol. Perfect. Then we are writing 2024 Harris Johnson period, and then we have a break here, and then after that, all rights reserved. Then we can open our footer styles. We can also click it here to open. And we are gonna add some styles in the container. We're gonna text align to the center. We are gonna target the paragraph in here. We're gonna give it a font size of 16 pixels. And we're gonna give it a color of variable. Footer text color. Graying it out a bit more. And there we go. Okay. That is all for the basic mobile layout of our website. Now we can move on, because if we zoom now, we see that basically nothing happens. So we have also, let's actually zoom out so you can see. This is my desktop. I'm on a big screen here, but we can see that we need to do something for the desktop view here. It's a bit boring like this. It works, it's possible, but we're gonna add some media queries and make this look good on both tablet and on larger screen sizes like this. So the first thing we're gonna do is let's take a look at the finished one, and then also zoom out so we can see that this is our project, our local one, and then in the finished one we have larger text on the hero section, and then we also changed the display from having the hero on the top side to being on the right side. So that's what we're gonna do, increase the size of things and also change the layout. Furthermore, we see if we scroll down, the projects go from being just like one under the other to being side by side. And if we inspect here and we decrease the size, we see that they also wrap under each other. So they go from being one under the other to being like 2 by 2 to being 3 and basically fitting and wrapping as many as can fit. Then if we scroll furthermore, skills are just now placed on one line compared to here. And also the contact is just widened a bit more. So let's make that happen in our own project. So I'm going to keep it now on normal zoom so we actually see what is going on, because now we have the tablet size and we are going to be able to see the changes here. So let's open our hero section first. If we go to our hero section, hero styles, and we can also open our app.css, and let's start here actually, because that's the general styles, and we have a couple of media queries to add here. So we're actually just going to add 2 media queries, so 2 sizes that we're going to account for. So the sizes we have now are going to count for everything below 800 pixels. And then we're going to have another style that kicks in after 800, and then a third style that kicks in after 1400. So let's do the 800 first. So this media query is going to be active at 800 pixels or bigger. So these styles only work above 800. So we're going to give the root a gap of 100 pixels compared to, let's see, it had 60. So basically increasing the gap here. Let's see. Yeah, as you can see, it increases the gap. Then we are going to go into the H1. I'm going to target the font size 40 pixels. We are then going to target the H2 and the H3. We're going to give them a font size of 24 pixels. Then we're going to target the paragraph element, font size of 20 pixels. Then the section title, we're going to give that a margin bottom of 60 pixels. And then let's copy this whole media query. We're just going to use the syntax, but change it to 1400. The root is going to have a gap of 200 now. The H1 is going to have a font size of 48. And the section title is going to have 75 pixels. Okay, now let's jump into the hero section and scroll all the way down. And let's create another media query here, width bigger or equal to 800 pixels. And then let's make these parentheses like so. Then we're going to target the container. We're going to say it's going to have a flex direction now of row reverse, like so. We're going to align items to the center. And we're going to justify the content to space evenly. We are also going to target the hero. And we're going to give it a max width of, let's see, 350 pixels. And a width of 350 pixels. Awesome. So if I now make it bigger, cool. Okay, so that's it for the hero section. For 800 pixels, let's copy this media query down. And we are gonna target the hero again for 1400. We're gonna say max width of 400 and width of 400. Okay, cool. We have some spacing issue here. We're gonna get back to that. Might just be that we're lacking some styles from different sections. We'll see. So now to the projects styles. We're gonna have a media here as well. Width larger or equals to 1400 pixels. Actually, 800 pixels. Then we are going to target the projects container. We are going to say flex direction row. And it's going to be, let's go down to there, flex wrap, and justify content space evenly, and padding is going to be 0.30 pixels. Are we too zoomed in? Okay, after some bug checking, I have figured out what the problem is. Here we have put the projects container inside of the container here. So now, yeah, things are accurately taking the space it needs, like we can see here. Awesome. Perfect. Then let's move on to our skills section. Let's copy this media queries from the project styles, open our skills styles, and paste it in there. We are gonna just have the 800 pixels here as well. We are gonna target the skill list. We are gonna give it a max width of fit content. We're gonna give it a gap of 30 pixels. We're gonna target the paragraph, give it a font size of 20 pixels. We're gonna target the HR, give it a width of 300 pixels. Perfect. And that looks great. Apart from the HR, of course, this is gonna be likewise outside of the skill list, like so. It's good to double check with the final result. Then let's move on to the contact form. We are gonna open the contact here. We are also going to paste in the media query from earlier. Here we are going to target the text area. And the input that is not of the type of submit. We're going to give it a width of 600 pixels. and a font size of 20 pixels. Then we're going to target the form, give it a gap of 40 pixels. Then we're going to target this whole rule, media query. We're going to target above 1400. We're going to target text area. We're actually just going to remove the form here, and we're going to say width is going to be 800. Perfect. And that seems to be working. Okay, let's now check the final result. So we have our website. It's looking good. Perfect. And then on light mode, that is very bright and looks great. Awesome. Does it look the same as the other one? I would say it does. Perfect. So now we are done with our design and our actual coding. So again, if you want to make the form work, I have a separate video for you linked here in the description and also here in the video. Now I'm going to show you how to create this image generated with AI. So the first way we're going to do it is the paid way. If you have a subscription to ChatGPT, it is in my opinion, the best way. I've experimented a bit with the free options out there, but nothing really comes close. So I have, and I think it's well worth it if you are already using or wanting to use ChatGPT and you want to stretch for that subscription, I would suggest using ChatGPT. So I have my reference picture here, which is just a picture I found on Unsplash. And then we drop that in here. And I would say convert this picture to a cartoon image with a white circular background, let's say. And let's see what it does. Usually it takes a couple of prompts for it to really refine to what you want. Okay, so here we have a first draft. Let's make it more Pixar. Because here I find this is a bit like more anime, and I would really like to have something close to this one. So I'm just generating this again. Okay, let's make it more realistic of a cartoon. Third time is the charm. Okay, here we have something more realistic, slightly less realistic, and more Pixar. Please. But this one I would already be satisfied with. I think this one would be looking cool in this portfolio. So as you can see, it's just about refining and giving ChatGPT. I could also be much more detailed in the descriptions I'm looking for. Okay, this one is pretty good. I think I'm gonna try this one. So I'm gonna download this picture. Then I'm gonna go to canva.com. I'm gonna create a new design. You can do that for free. I'm just gonna choose 500 by 500 pixels. I know you have a free trial in Canva where you have access to all the premium features, which you might need to create this box. So I just searched for a circular element, so circle. And you're gonna find frames here, so you can choose a frame. I'm choosing the circular one. So I can basically drop my image in here. So then I drop the image into Canva. You see here are the previous images I have used. So I'm just going to drop it in there. I am going to edit it and I'm going to remove the background. That is looking pretty good. Okay. Still have a bit of a background, I find. Or do we? Am I just imagining that? Let's see if I give this background a color. No, okay, it's looking, I would say that's looking pretty good. Okay, then let's download that, share. Download, we're gonna go for see-through background, PNG. Yeah, that's fine. We could go for SVG as well. Let's just do PNG. And we're gonna download. So the design is downloaded. So now I am just gonna drag. Now I'm gonna drag that into our assets folder here. And I'm gonna change our hero image. If I open the hero here, hero image, I'm gonna change that to, what is it? Untitled something. Design utenom. That's Norwegian for you. And there we go. So that's pretty smooth. I find that it almost looks better than what I originally had. Yeah, I think I would choose this one over the other one. It's slightly more realistic maybe. And not even, it's just a different style maybe. But yeah, that's pretty much how easy it is to like spend a couple minutes generating a picture. I really find that ChatGPT does a really great job at this. You could also use another program software to make the round circle. You could do that in CSS as well. It's just a bit more work. Canva is really great for those kind of things. Now let me show you how to do that. The same thing in a free service called Leonardo AI. So you have to create an account. Once you have an account, and then you're going to go to image generation. And then I have done some trials here earlier. We are going to go to image guidance. We are going to turn on image to image. I'm going to add the same reference image. Oh, I already had it here uploaded. Cool. Keeping this pretty much at 0.4. Let's put it at 0.5. And let's use the same prompt as we did. Convert this picture. Okay, and then we are gonna generate a picture. So then if we click the generation history, we see some new images being generated here. So yeah, it's quite lifelike. It's not very cartoony. Maybe we need to choose something. Let's see. The thing is, it gives you maybe a bit too many options. Add element. Let's try that. Let's choose Toon and Anime and 3D Sculpt. And let's try that again. Still giving me very lifelike to a Pixar like. Let's drop this circular background because we can do that later. Let's drop that down to 0.4. Let's add a negative prompt. Lifelike, realistic. Let's do another generation. So as you can see, ChatGPT was way more, on it. It might just be that I'm also using Leonardo AI maybe a bit less. I'm less used to knowing how to prompt it, but I find that ChatGPT knows more, anticipates what I want more easily. Let's. Okay. I don't really know how to make this more cartoony. Convert this picture to a cartoon. Let's just like cartoon image of this man. Okay, we're gonna remove the 3D sculpt. Just try tune and anime. Let's go again. Okay, this is better. Still too way too realistic. Let's choose something like color pop. Let's try that. Kids illustration even. Let's just go for kids illustration. So yeah, you have a couple of tokens for free, and then otherwise you have to pay. And now I'm probably gonna get some really bad images, apparently. Okay. Well, I'm gonna try again. Let's see. Let's try the old school comic would kind of be cool. Let's do color pop. Okay, so the quality has drastically decreased because I'm out of my limit today. So, I highly suggest ChatGPT, but I think these ones were quite good. So let's see what we can do with them. I'm gonna choose. Let's see. They don't really look like this reference image, but it is the best one I've gotten. It's the best free AI tool I've spotted. So let me know in the comments if you have a better one, and please share that with the other viewers as well. Otherwise, you have Dolly, you have plenty of paid ones. But yeah, this one is, it's pretty good for being completely free. We're gonna go with this one. We're gonna download that image. We are gonna open up Canva again. We're gonna copy this image here. We are gonna drop the newly made image, and we are gonna put it there instead. And we are also going to fit this. Why is it doing that? Okay. We don't have the whole head, do we? That is gonna be a problem. Okay. Well, we're gonna make do with what we have. So we are gonna try our best to make this look not wonky. Okay. Well, it's half our face. So cool. Then let's see what this looks like if we download that like so. And then let's change over here. Change it to the light mode. I think it's going to be the most forgiving one. And then obviously I would call them something else, but let's just be quick about it. So design, let's see, this one, number 1. Okay, it's not terrible, it's not good either. So yeah, there we have the free. It's a bit shame because I had a bit more luck the first time, but I'm out of credits. So sorry about that, because I did get, I did get these ones the first time around. I did get this one, which would have been way better to actually use. Let's see. I got these. So there was some good ones with the full face height. I can show you. Let's see this one, which I generated previously, which would be way better. Here you can also like remove the background completely, and then it's a nice image, You can even add back the white here, like so. Make it bigger. Put it back, and then download. See-through. One more time, just to like give Leonardo a bit of a fighting chance against and that should be probably 2. Yeah, there we go. So already way better. So here we could also turn up the color a bit on Canva, make it look a bit more fitting. But already this looks way better and way more competing than the other one. But yeah, definitely I find that ChatGPT takes the spot. Then it's time to actually deploy our website. So we have all our project here. Now save everything. Cool. That's good. We can close that. Then we can open our... Then if we open our GitHub Desktop, we see that we have all of this new files in our repository. I'm just going to say finish project. And we're going to push that. If we click view on GitHub, we see that we have our project here now with all its files. Then we're going to go to netlify.com. We're going to log in or create a user if we don't have it already. We're going to log in with our GitHub account. Here we are going to click this add new site. We're going to import an existing project, deploy with GitHub. You're going to authorize GitHub access here. We're going to search for our project, Harris. And Harris Johnson 2. We're going to keep everything standard. I'm going to say Harris Johnson 2. We're going to check availability. Site name is available. Cool. Everything else we're going to keep by default, and we're going to deploy. So that's going to take usually like up to a minute. And then we have our site ready and deployed. Here we go. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you learned a thing or two. And if you did, I have another video suggested for you right here. Until next time, see ya.